Welcome back, everyone. How are tables linked in a relational database? The answer is by primary key and foreign key. So what are these two keys? A primary key is a column or set of columns that uniquely identifies an instance of the table. For example, in this customer table, the primary key is the composite of customer name and date of birth. So, together, the combination of these two columns, we call them a composite key, make the primary key. So these two columns as a primary key uniquely identifies all the other columns in the table. Because here in this case, it is very rare to find a customer that has the same name and date of birth. So you might find some customers have the same name, and you might find some other customers with the same date of birth. But there is no way to find a customer that has the same name and the date of birth at the same time. So that's why these two columns together compose or make a primary key that represent all other fields in the table. And we have another type of primary key. Here in this table is the customer ID. So here we have only one field or column is the primary key in the table. Customer ID is unique. There is no way for two customers to have the same ID at all. So that's why when we design a database and tables, we add a number or an ID for each table because this number is uniquely identified each record in that table. And of course, we can have only one primary key in a table because it identifies uniquely every row and it cannot be null value. So there is no way to have null value here in the customer ID. And the other key we have here is the foreign key. The foreign key is a copy of the primary key that exists in the dependent table to link it with the independent table. Typically, you take the primary key field from the independent table and insert it into other table where it becomes a foreign key. And of course, we can have more than one foreign key in a table. So let's have a look here at the primary key and the foreign key to understand them. Here in this table, on the left, we have the customer data. We have the customer ID, customer name, and date of birth. And the primary key here is the customer ID, which uniquely identifies every record in this table, the customer table. On the right side here, we have the orders table. In this case, the foreign key is the customer ID. We simply made another copy of the primary key and we inserted here in the dependent table. So we call the customer table the independent table because it has the primary key. And here in the order table, we have the copy of the customer ID and we call it the foreign key. And the job of the foreign key in the orders table is to link each record in the order table with the right record in the customer table. For example, the first customer here has a customer ID equal 1. And if we look on the order table, we have here two orders came from this customer which has ID number 1. So we have two orders. Same thing for the second customer here, Mary. The customer ID here is 2. And we can see here there are two orders came from Mary. These two orders. And the same thing for the last customer, Danny.